Kyler Murray's foot is still not okay. And this is just weird. Everything about it's weird. I've done a couple of think pieces at pft.com or profootballtalk.com. We don't own pft.com. It used to go to some fruit juice company. I don't know where it goes now. I thought about buying that domain too, but I'm too cheap. Anyway, at profootballtalk.com, we've had some items looking into the various angles and issues with the Kyler Murray relationship with the Cardinals. And look, there's the short term. Jacoby Brissett is playing better, and Kyler Murray is injured. There's the longer term. What do we do next year? Can we trade him? And if we can't trade him, what do we do about the contract? He's got $19.5 million in 2027 salary that becomes guaranteed on the fifth day of the 2026 league year. If he's injured, they can't get out of that. They're already stuck with some $39 million next year. They could be stuck with another $19.5 if Kyler Murray has an injury after this season ends that isn't healed before the fifth day of the new league year. That could be a problem. So he's now on injured reserve. And they placed him on injured reserve just 4 days after head coach Jonathan Gannon said he could have a role in Monday Night Football. Part of that is the gamesmanship, and I think the NFL is, and I don't know this, but I think we connect the dots. Common sense would suggest they're maybe telling these teams, you can't play these games. You got to be a little more transparent. They came out and told us 5 days before the upcoming game against the Seahawks that Jacoby Brissett will start. They didn't have to tell us that. They didn't have to tell us on Saturday of last week that Jacoby Brissett was starting against the Cowboys. They had complied with the injury report by saying limited in practice for each of the 3 days for Murray, and he was questionable. That's all they had to say. Didn't have to say who was starting. So now they've told us that he's on injured reserve. He's off the roster. He's going to miss at least the next 4 games. He'll be eligible to return week 14. By then, they may just keep him in bubble wrap. And I think that's the key. And there is a chance, and I mentioned this yesterday on Twitter, when you consider the bigger picture here, there's a chance that Kyler Murray's last game with the Arizona Cardinals may have been week 5. That debacle, not because of anything he did. It was the Emari DeMarcado thing. It was that bizarre kick the ball around the ground. Somehow the Titans score a touchdown. Tyler Lockett, who's no longer on the Titans, recovers it in the end zone. Just a weird confluence of events that allowed the Titans to come back and beat the Cardinals. That could be Kyler Murray's last game ever with the Arizona Cardinals, because they got 19.5 million reasons to not put him back on the field this year. Now, if Jacoby Brissett just can't keep playing at the level he's been playing at, then they may need Murray. But, hey, he's injured. And I just can't help but wonder whether or not there was some sort of behind-the-scenes conversation that resulted in a deal that we're going to put you on ice for the rest of the year and we're going to try to trade you after the season. And we'll accommodate wherever you want to go. We'll try to do it. And I do think there's a real question that needs to be asked as to whether or not they'll find anyone. The Broncos weren't going to find anyone for Russell Wilson. They knew not to even try. Will the Cardinals find anyone who would do a deal that would take on Kyler Murray and his contract? How much of that contract is the Cardinals going to have to pay? That's all part of the questions that will be answered after the season. That is what I feel like is going to happen here. Here's a little from Jonathan Gannon from yesterday regarding the decision to place Kyler Murray on injured reserve.
Today, Kyler's going to go on IR. Feel like that's the best thing for him and for us. He's not fully healthy, ready to go yet, so that makes the most sense. Obviously, that's a change. But we just felt, looking at it right now, that's the best thing for him and us, like I just said. He's fully committed. Right now, what he's going to concentrate on is getting healthy. He's not healthy enough to play. He needs to get healthy so he can get back to playing football.
I mean, it's the same guy that told the reporters on Saturday there was a chance he could have a role on Monday night. See, that just underscores the prevalence of inside information, because this gamesmanship happens. And I think that the NFL, well, I know that the NFL, at least multiple owners in the NFL, are going to take a step back and ask, Is it worth it? Is having the ability to play these stupid games that create inside information, is it worth it? Because it leads to the existence of inside information that can then be abused. Look at what the Jets have done this week. Not that anyone's noticed because it's been all about the trades, but Aaron Glenn won't say who his starting quarterback is going to be. And Justin Fields said yesterday something like he doesn't know. Well, of course he knows. Of course he knows. Is he getting first-team reps or is he not getting first-team reps? Of course he knows. Now, he's been told not to say, but this isn't because anyone's trying to misuse inside information, at least not directly. This is about some sort of an advantage. In one of the few remaining games on the schedule that the Jets have a chance to win, they are trying to keep the Browns in the dark as to whether or not they're going to face Tyrod Taylor or Justin Fields. It's that simple. The problem is the gamesmanship creates inside information. Someone knows it. Someone says something to someone. They say something to someone. They say something to someone. And someone's got a potentially valuable piece of information. Not that it's a silver bullet to win a bet, but if you have that edge over the long haul, that's the key. Sometimes your inside information is going to pan out, and sometimes it's not. But if you have it, and you otherwise know what you're doing, it gives you an edge to just tip the scales a little more in your favor. And if you're not a hog about it, if you just use it to inform the decisions you're going to make anyway, there's not any unusual betting activity here. I'm betting all the time. But as I make my bets this week, I've got information that helps me make better bets. I'm just on a hot streak. What can I say? So, to the question that was asked earlier, there's got to be some shady stuff going on that they either don't know about or they know about and they're ignoring because they know it's opening a can of worms that cannot be controlled or contained. Adi M27 has a question about the Cardinals. Do you think Arizona will cut Kyler, and would their best options be Geno Smith or a quarterback in the draft? Well, the word on this year's draft class of quarterbacks is it's not nearly as good as it's been in recent years, especially not 2024. Geno Smith, it's not really working, and maybe it's a Chip Kelly thing, but the Geno Smith-Pete Carroll reunion isn't working. Now, the problem is the team's not very good, so it's hard for the quarterback to stand out. But, it's all about identifying your various options and then selecting one. And the Cardinals right now, the front office has to be in the identify all options for 2026 mode because we have to operate under the assumption that Kyler Murray's not going to be here. Even if they work something out and he stays, they need to know what all their options are so they can pick something, so they can have a plan, they can have a strategy, get a placeholder and maybe draft someone. But, yeah, they need to be looking at all their options. Guys whose contracts are expiring, guys who we think are going to be cut, guys who may be available via trade. We got to look at everything out there and figure out who our quarterback is going to be next year. Our good friend Tom Marshall, Arizona UK. If the Cardinals are edging toward moving on from Kyler Murray, does Jonathan Gannon still have a chance to save his job? When I started poking around the possibility that Kyler Murray would be traded before the deadline, and I didn't know. I just had this feeling after what was said on Saturday that something's weird. If he could play on Saturday night, if they said on Saturday, he could play on Monday night, why is he not starting? If he's healthy enough to play, why is he not healthy enough to start? Something may be going on. I wonder if they might trade him. In the process of exploring that rabbit hole, I became aware of different opinions and assessments and positions that could be taken. And one is very simple. Jonathan Gannon, Monty Ossenfort. They both arrived not only after Kyler Murray was drafted in 2019, but after he was given that long-term contract in 2022 that had the unfortunate homework clause in it that I think became the final straw in many ways for the relationship, and somehow it's still together 3 years later. But the argument from Gannon and Ossenfort will be, we haven't had a chance to get our own guy. And I think they're trying to stack as many wins as they can now, be as competitive as they can in 2025, so they can say to Michael Bidwell, give us another chance with our own guy. We've never had our own quarterback. We've had someone else's quarterback who did just poorly enough to get that person fired. That's the problem with inheriting a quarterback. You got that job not because the Last coach decided he's going to retire with a couple of Super Bowls under his arm. Guy got fired. And the quarterback was part of the reason why the guy got fired. And the rare exception is Jim Mora the Elder being fired by the Colts after the 2001 season and Tony Dungy landing in Indianapolis. No, he's not going to move on from Peyton Manning. For the other quarterbacks, you at least have to take a step back and ask yourself, is this guy part of the problem or kind of make him part of the solution? They have yet to have an opportunity to find a quarterback who can be part of the solution in Arizona. So, yeah, I think it could help Gannon get another year. And that would give him 4 years, which would put him 2 years short of tying the record for the longest tenure of any coach in the 100-plus year history of the Arizona Cardinals. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.